This week's Parsha begins the next chapter in the tumultuous life of Jacob. The scene opens describing the increasingly poor relationship between 17-year-old Joseph and his brothers. Despite the fact that he is on the precipice of becoming an adult, the Torah still refers to him as a young child. The commentaries are perplexed by this, attributing this characterization to Joseph's immature and juvenile behavior. A few weeks ago, we read about the binding of Isaac, and in that episode, Isaac is also called a young child, even though at the time, Isaac was a mature, well-adjusted 37-year-old. The commentaries explain that when the Torah describes Joseph as a young child, it is in context for the narrative, a reference to his childish conduct. However, Isaac is called a child by his father, Abraham, because in a parent's eyes, a child always remains a child, no matter how young or how old they may be. Former Secretary General of the Israeli Trade Federation, Yuruka was once traveling on the same flight as the great Torah scholar of Yaakov Kamenetsky. The influential Israeli was impressed with the great rabbi's son and granddaughter, who happily tended to his every need the entire flight. When he sadly confided to Rabbi Kamenetsky that he rarely saw his children and grandchildren, the rabbi said to him, "You believe in Darwinian theory. So as far as your descendants are concerned, you're just one generation closer to the apes than they are. To my children and grandchildren, I am one generation closer to the revelation at Sinai. So they recognize that I connect them to the spiritual giants of previous generations, and they honor me because I am their link to greatness." Mark Twain is quoted as saying, "When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years." The Torah commands us to honor parents, elders, and scholars and respect them for their life's experiences, achievements, and knowledge. The Torah does not tell us to honor our parents as long as they still have their wits about them, or to listen to our elders provided they can still give good advice, or to respect scholars as long as they are still sharp. The lesson here is that regardless of our own accomplishments and wisdom, we must show deference to those who have been on this earth longer than we have. Leadership expert and motivational speaker Stephen Covey, who is famous for his best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, said, "It's especially hard to admit that you have made a mistake to your parents, because of course, you know so much more than they do." One of the challenges of our society today is that once a person hits a certain age and their faculties start to fail, they are no longer held in the same regard as when they were younger and at the top of their game. Judaism teaches us that no matter what the circumstances are, we must show respect because in the presence of our parents, we will always remain children, and they will always be one generation closer to the ultimate source. I am Rabbi Pinchas Landis, and this is a Parsha Power Up.